We'll call the June 2023 Purchasing Committee to order. Carl, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Phillips.
Present.
Commissioner McAdoo. Commissioner Boyd.
Here.
Commissioner Gooch. Commissioner Johnson.
Present.
Commissioner P.
Here.
Mayor.
Here. We have a quorum. Commissioner P., have you had a chance to review the minutes of the previous meeting?
I certainly have, and I found them to be in order, and I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Boyd. All those in approval of the minutes say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. The minutes stand approved. Public comments. Anybody want to say anything? Seeing none, we'll move along. I guess that's how you're supposed to do it, isn't it, commissioners? Ask if there are public comments. If nobody wants to make a comment. Oh, do you want to make a comment, Bishop?
No comment. Commissioner Gooch is on his way up.
Okay, excellent.
You'll make a comment.
Well, we're at the public comment section of the agenda, which is why I was wondering if you were walking at the most opportune time, right? All right. Renewal of contract for solid waste tire contract. That would be you, Mr. Wagner.
Hello.
Your timing's perfect. Hope you didn't get wet.
It just sheets off of me. Washes the landfill off. So thank you, commissioners.
Yeah, what are we doing here, Bishop?
So we're on a 1 year extension for the contract for tires that went out. It actually went out to two companies.
And who are they?
Southern Tire Mart and Quality Tire. Southern Tire Mart, after a month of the contract last year, breached the contract, and the county stopped doing business with them.
And what is the nature of this business that you're talking about?
This business is we purchase our retread, we do our tire alignments on the fleet trucks, so it's the big truck tires
Okay.
that we purchase. And as per the contract that we signed last year, they had a year extension for both. I didn't feel confident in calling a company that had breached contract initially to come back and re-breach, so reached back out to Quality Tire. And we're coming today before you to present that there were some increases in cost of materials that happened from last year to this year, which is kind of par for the course on that. And I am submitting for your approval a recommendation to go with their increases that they've had this year. They're within the 4 to 7% depending upon, and they've also included an activity that they didn't have available last year that they have available this year, which is tire alignment for our trucks.
So this is a product and service that Quality Tire would provide our large fleet vehicle, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that product and service includes tires, retread tires, balance, and alignment of those on those vehicles. Is that correct?
That's correct.
How many places did you solicit for bids for this?
For this term, it was still under the year-by-year contract, so we didn't solicit any new bids for this. I didn't include Southern Tire Mart, which were in the bid last year because they didn't adhere to their contract that they agreed to do last year. So we've got one to discuss. I have had no problems with working with this company in the last year. I find them to be really, their prices are reasonable, and they're getting my trucks in and out and are in a rate.
So Bishop, again, how is this price? Is this price based on the size of the truck, the size of the wheels, the tires, what's being done? So they've got I guess they got a schedule. Would that be accurate?
That's correct. So they've got, for each, there's a listing of the tires that we've used in the past, and some of the tires that, some of these that are on this list are on trucks that we only use in limited, so I don't use a whole lot of the tires. And then some of them are on some of our new fleet. The newer tires we've got what are called floaters on the front, which is something that we added this last year with the purchase of the two new roll-offs, and I've changed over my fleet because I was finding that I wasn't having to purchase as many of those tires because they seem to last a little bit longer, so they've added those onto the list. They also have costs that are associated with their labor for service calls, if they have after hours, what they charge to mount and dismount, patching, etc., and then alignments. So each tire that's in the list over here are tires that we use either for the front load trucks or the roll-off trucks.
Who do the, again, who does our other large trucks use for this kind of service? In other words, like fire and these kind of things.
Everybody does it by contract, separate contract, as far as I know. I think that Highway Department is close to Southern Tire Mart. I think they can use Southern Tire Mart there for theirs. We're in a little bit different situation than most of them because of the landfill and having to go up there. I go through a lot of tires, about $10,000 in tires a month, and so we tend to use on the drive tires or the tires in the rear. We're able to use retread tires on there as long as there's no sidewall punctures, and then I have to use new tires for the front tires on the trucks. So. The majority of our business with them are in retread tires because that's what I tend to lose the most of.
Okay. But you're saying they come to your facility to...
Sometimes if we can drive it, if it's a drive tire and we can get it to them,
it's out on 41A,
yes.
Isn't it? Yeah, across from Singer Road.
So if we can get it there safely, we do, or there's a charge for them to come out and do it. We also have tires that they've mounted and we have out at the landfill, and if they're out at the landfill in the morning when they do their pre-chips, if they need a tire exchange, we can do that on shop, so that saved us some money there too.
Do we know what we spent with quality this past fiscal year? Approximately.
It's in the 200,000.
200,000. Okay. And what do you anticipate for 23-24?
I think we're going to be similar in the cost. There's a maybe 210, 215. Okay. I don't think we're going to be too far off the mark. I have seen since we moved to the floater tires, I've seen us having to replace them less.
A floater tire?
That's the wider front tires than the back. And I'm not sure why that's happening, but I'm starting to see that that's been a positive turn.
Okay.
We did it initially just to offset the weight while we were carrying the heavier super compactors.
Is it your recommendation that we accept the quality tire?
Yes, sir.
It is.
They're a local company.
Yes.
They are.
But between here and Smyrna, I believe it is.
Yep.
They have a that's where their truck center is, and then they have a vehicle over on Rideout behind the theater over there.
Case and Lane.
Mm-hmm. Case and Lane.
And this cost is in your annual budget?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it going up this year? About the same?
I think it had a slight increase to match that 4 to 6%.
Okay. Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Phillips.
Second.
And we have a second by Commissioner Johnson. Yes, Rob. Mr.
This is a 1-year extension.
Yes, we'll go to
So,
full bid next year.
Well, what I'm asking is, you mentioned there was a 4% increase.
Yes.
Was that built into the original, or, I mean, you said it's a 1-year extension. When I hear that, I'm thinking, will we charge the same we were last year? Or is that in the contract?
So,
If not, why are we only bidding this one?
well, with material costs, that's usually taken into effect, and in this contract, it's taken into effect to the fact that it costs them more money to get the materials. And I would have invited the other company to come as well had they honored their bid for that 12-month period. But it's my understanding on contracts and contracts like this that the reason for the 1-year extension is to allow them to adjust for inflation during that. If we're going into a situation where there was a whole new service that was provided, or they were at the end of their existing contract, then it's my understanding that then it would be appropriate for us to go to full bid for new
I understand what you're saying, but I still haven't understood the contract a year ago, last year's contract. Did it have in it that they had a 4% increase or whatever? Was that built into that contract for the extension we have now?
Not specifically, no.
Okay.
These prices really seem reasonable. I mean, I can't get an alignment for that.
Yeah, and there's another factor here that is, when these trucks come in, they're en route. He takes them in, gets them out rapidly. There's a service to be paid. There's a service that's provided there to the county. That's good. I've had good dealings with them since the time I've been here. I found them to be honest and forthcoming. But yeah, I think and we're seeing this across a lot of the things we're touching is, the cost of materials, the fuel prices have gone up. Fuel is involved in tires, tire prices go up.
Well, I understand everything you're saying there, and I trust your judgment. Don't misunderstand me, but I just sticks in my craw here that we're doing a 1-year extension on a contract, but yet we're giving them 4% or whatever you said over what we did on the original bid. Would they take this extension, 1-year extension, if we didn't offer that 4%?
I think that what they're saying is they're giving us the 30-day notice in the fact that they prepared this for us, that this is what they need in order for them to continue to provide the service at the level that they're provided it for the previous year. And I think that we run a risk, and this has come up a couple times in different conversations that I've had with others as we're trying to predict for our budgets as we're going in. We run a risk where if we start requesting vendors to add in riders where they're going to escalate their payment due to the anticipation of inflation, that we're going to get bids that are extremely uncompetitive because people are going to want, companies are going to have to hedge their bets against whether they're going to lose by working with the county. So in my opinion, I can see where you're coming from, and if I felt that this was gouging us or this was taking advantage of the county or anything like that, I would have a different feeling. I would have suggested last month that we take this to full bid and see what's out there. But I'm afraid we'd be getting ourselves, not just with contracts like this, but in construction contracts and others, we got to be really wary of the fact that we can put ourselves in a position where we're pricing ourselves out of being able to do things in an economic way, if that makes any sense.
Well, it does, but again, if I'm a contractor and I'm willing to give you a 1-year extension on the bid I give you this year, I'd expect to have the same contract. So, that's back on them. That's not us. They're the ones that's offering that. So, but again, you've been looking at these numbers. I haven't. So, I trust your judgment on that.
Well, Commissioner P., you bring up a very valid point. It does create somewhat of a conundrum for the county because as in our last purchasing meeting, we got notice on our security services, as you remember, and then we asked Mr. Robert over here to go back and evaluate those services with security at the public office buildings. And it was because our current contractor, because of wage price pressures, inflation pressures, couldn't maintain the contract. So they opted out to go out to leave the contract. So we put it back out for bid, and it was fortunate to come back in, and we ended up retaining the same contractor, but we had to with an increased price. And so I don't disagree with a word you're saying, but maybe this is something this committee needs to have a larger discussion about, because as we start to feel wage price pressures on our vendors, what is our response as a county going to be in that regard, if that makes any sense? And so I don't know, I don't have the answer. I'm just sitting here listening to the conversation, and I'm going, we may be on the front end of getting more of this, not less of it, if that makes any sense. And maybe we need to have a better thought out response.
Well, I agree with maybe we need to look at our response. But if we set a precedence of doing this, I think we can expect a whole lot more of it.
Well, if this committee so chooses to approve the recommendation by Mr. Wagner, I can promise you one thing: it won't set a precedent. It won't be one that we're bound to. So, not at least on my part.
Understand. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Carla, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner P?
A reluctant yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you, sir.
Yes is a yes.
So, is there a reluctant yes different than a embracing yes? I mean,
Yes.
thank you for that, Commissioner. The next on the agenda is the HVAC risk management.
Yes, sir.
You're getting to be a regular at our little meetings.
No, I thought I'd figured out how to not do this anymore.
Always a smiling face. What have you got for us today?
This is the ground floor of the old health department. HVAC unit. It's a large 2,800 unit.
For risk management?
Correct. We've managed to limp it along for a year. It's a dual circuit, so it's got 2 compressors. One of those compressors went out last year. So
What's the tonnage?
20.
Okay.
It's running on limping on one compressor.
How old is it?
That unit is, when they did the last remodel, it's 20 years old.
Oh, okay. So, and is it true that if you get to 15 years, you're good? If you get to 20, you're great on these HVAC systems? Is that pretty much the rule of thumb?
Yeah. I think we have one on the Goldstein from the 90s. 96.
All right. So how many bids did we get?
We
Carl?
received 2 bids in.
Okay. So
This
we
is
got
bid
one
number
from we
one.
got one from Miller, and they're a local company, I believe they are. It looks like the total cost from Miller would be $37,800.
Correct. He's got a crane cost on here, but there will be no crane needed for this job.
It doesn't go on the ceiling. I mean, it's going to go on the
No,
roof.
this one sits on a ground pad.
All right.
That come out of his bid.
It's not included.
Yeah, it's not included.
Okay.
Yep, job totals.
It was
$37,800.
optional, right?
Yep.
Thank you. Hold it, Carl.
Who services those units?
Miller would service these units.
It's a train. Yeah.
It's a train unit. We're only replacing it's a split system, it's a large one, so we're only replacing the outdoor unit. The indoor unit was replaced in, probably 5 or 6 years ago. And it's still in good shape, so we're only doing the outside unit.
Here's the second bid from
What-
Demand Mechanical.
Robert, let me ask you a question. What's the current brand of the 20-ton unit that's over there now?
Train.
It is a train?
Mhm.
So it's Miller would be replacing a train with a train?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Potentially.
It is a big difference. I had a pretty good idea of a range that it was going to fall in, from high to low.
Are the warranties
So
the
that
same?
one from Demand is about in the middle. And the representative from Demand is actually here. This is Randy. If anybody has any questions for him.
What is the brand unit?
That's what I was about to ask.
I had a train in
Okay, what about warranty on the 2?
mind. It's specified in the spec.
Okay, so
The range of the
basically
bid.
it's going to
Bid
follow my
specification.
specs as far as warranty.
It's 1 year parts and labor, 5 year
Yeah, it should be 10-year compressor, 5-year parts, and 1-year labor.
That's the same for both.
That's what I'm hearing. Your warranty for your equipment would be the same as what's in my spec.
Yeah.
10 years, 5 years, 1 year.
Is it, Robert, is it the same model unit on both for Miller and Demand? Is it the same unit?
I
I
don't
can't-
see,
I can't-
unless I'm missing a page here, Mayor, I do not see the actual.
Mr. Winston, can you tell us if there's a spec sheet in your bid for the train unit?
There is not, it did not ask for one, so.
Can you, I guess the reason I'm asking, sir, is I'm trying to make a comparison based on the 20-ton unit offered by Miller and the 20-ton unit offered by Demand. I'm wanting to make sure that we're able to compare apples to apples, if that makes any sense. There is a price difference, so I want to make sure that price difference is not reflected somewhere that we're overlooking, if that makes any sense.
Yes, sir. I can send the specs to Rob or to anyone.
Rob, you have something you want to impart, wisdom, maybe?
Well, based on pricing and some of the pre-work I've done on this, I would recommend that we take the Miller.
Yeah, it's a $7,000 delta.
We've done business a lot with Miller,
Yes.
and are they servicing that unit now at this particular point in time, that old unit?
The old unit, we have been serviced, maintenance has been, but Miller put a unit into that building a year ago, and they've been, well, we haven't had any trouble with it, but they would service it.
You don't feel you need time to go over these, check the difference, because, I mean, that's a pretty broad difference in price there, so that's why I was asking about warranty when I saw
Yeah.
that.
Well, so based on preliminary work I'd done prior to this, before putting it out for bid, I had a range. So we had a 49,820 was the high, and the low was 37.8, which is this one.
Well,
And then demand is 44.8. So it was quite a range.
you feel confident in this Miller group?
I do.
I'm gonna make a motion that we accept Miller's bid.
I'll second. We have a motion and a second. Carl, was that your second? Okay. Any further discussion or questions? Commissioner Gooch, would you like to impart some just pearly wisdom on the committee? We would love to hear from you.
As much as I respect Commissioner P, I think I want to vote yes on his motion. The wisdom I've got right now.
It's a big fat yes. Call the roll.
Is that an embracing year?
Exactly. I can't say I'm gonna yes on television, but yeah.
Oh, man.
Commissioner Phillips.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd.
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner P.
Yes.
Mayor.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let's see, give that back to you. Let me have the thing from Bishop, so I can pass that around. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bernie.
The next thing is the Rutherford County Clerk's Office of Paving Project. Mr. Shearer, you're still sitting at the table.
Yes.
I can only assume that you're not done with the committee.
No, sir. The county clerk's office payments in last 2 winters we've had done some damage to it. We were going to just seal and stripe it, but between the freezing we have, it's cracked quite a bit of it. So we're at this point we're going to do an overlay. They'll go in and they'll what they call cold pane and mill around all the curbs and the transitions. to get it back level and keep the slope the same for drainage.
Is that the original paving that's on it?
You know, I haven't been here long enough to answer that, but I think, based on some damage I've seen, that it is. There's one area that there's an actual hole in the parking lot and there's no underlayment below that.
I would imagine that it probably is.
Yeah. And it's held on these last 2 winters. It was gonna have to be overlaid at some point anyway, but I think the cold and the ice pushed it along a little quicker than we anticipated.
Do we have those bids, Carla?
Yeah, sorry.
Asphalt paving.
Forgot it.
What we're bringing out now is the recommendation from Bishop Wagner for you to sign. You can put any notation, Commissioner P, on there that you think is.
I put a smiley face on it.
Maybe it should be a sad face.
Tears.
Or a straight line.
Straight line.
Straight line.
We've got emojis.
I've got a question while she's getting that out. I know, and this gets back to our state legislature, one of our favorite topics, but, we've got a perfectly good group of people that work for the county that are really good at paving. The roads. My perception is that they can't do paving, but can they not do paving on county property?
Well,
And they may not want to, but
Well,
I'm curious about
I
that.
will tell you this, is go ahead and pass this out and mark this one original if you don't mind, or one of them.
That was a good
So that's an interesting question that needs to be researched, and here's why. I know that when we get in discussions with certain municipalities about annexation, part of that annexation discussion includes them taking over the maintenance of that county road leading to that particular piece of property they want to annex. And in lieu of that, they can then sub out back to us the maintenance of that road through Mr. Brooks and his department. And so what I'd be interested to know, if that is possible at that level, why isn't it possible that the highway department couldn't then, you see what I'm saying?
I do, and that's basically what my question is.
So I don't have an answer, but I do have a question about if it's okay for it to do it this situation, why then is it okay in this other situation, which are very similar? In other words, he's able to do work for a municipality that doesn't,
They can pay for the county if they want to.
they can? Okay,
We
so,
had, in Wilson, we had the county highway department pay some stuff for the schools.
so Michael, what's the process? We're off on a rail here a little bit, but it's a worthy discussion. So what's the process, or what prohibits us from us asking him to do that?
He's an elected official and they have their own board, and that's the honest answer.
But there are no state
You
statutes.
can't use the state money for it, to buy the asphalt and all that sort of things. But I mean, if there are county employees, you would have to, purchase, you would use the money out of, that you were paying for this
Yeah.
to go buy the asphalt.
No,
Yes.
I don't
Yes,
think we're talking about using his funds. I think we're saying these funds come out of the appropriate account, and then reimburse the highway department. That's what you're inferring, isn't it, Commissioner?
It is. For instance, at Kittrell, several years ago, we were needing gravel, and we were able to get gravel at that time through the road board, and they brought it out, and were able to put it, because it was county-owned property,
I will tell you, the one issue we had at Wilson was that it wasn't cost advantageous for the county, when I was in Wilson, to move to a certain school, to move all their equipment. It was cheaper for us to do a patch job through a contractor because it was a small area. When they're generally set up to do a road, they're lined up.
Yeah.
That was our, I don't say we call it a roadblock, but that was our issue. It ended up being cheaper
Yeah.
for us to get somebody who specialized in a smaller paving equipment. But as long as you don't, the only state law that prohibits that is work on private property. They could do a parking lot for us. The problem is it cheaper for us to get somebody who specializes in a parking lot or resurfacing than Greg bring his whole big road paving, that's, however wide that machine is.
How do we avoid a finding, and when auditors come in and look at things on something. Is there a process or a procedure we've got to go through that keeps us from, you see what I'm saying? I want to,
You lost me on finding.
well, I don't want to do anything that would cause a finding when we're talking about auditing our financials. You see what I'm saying?
No, we can work through that. I think, like I said, there's no restriction. Just like Chairman P was saying with the county highway department could deliver gravel to a county maintenance department. There's nothing against that. I'll handle the accounting on that end.
Okay.
I'm saying from a cost perspective, one thing to consider is he's set up on a road potentially on another to the county, and he's got a road paving. Some of the parking lot resurfacing stuff is a little.
So is this at the clerk's office? Is this a patching, or is this a repaving?
It's a 1.5-inch layer over existing, so it's a total recover.
And striping?
Correct. But it is relatively small area for that department to have to do.
Be something that we could talk to, actually Greg about at Public Works.
Absolutely.
Bring it up there and talk to it about Public Works.
Yeah, because I'd like to know, again, based on this conversation, I'd like to know the opportunities where he could create efficiencies for the county that they specialize in, obviously. And I don't know what that is.
Well, I mean, we have numerous paving projects, and we've got a backlog of our convenience centers that are needing pavement, for instance. And like I said, I'm not trying to push him one way or the other. I'm just curious if we can legally do it, and two, if he would be open to the suggestion, and then would it be cost effective? So, you know, those three things have to be answered.
Yep.
Legally, he can do work on any county property,
Okay.
but cost effective is the whole different.
Gotcha. And he can help us with that.
Yep.
Absolutely. Thank you. How many proposals, bids did we get?
2.
Okay, you open the other one. The first one is from Hawkins
Yes.
in Wartrace. And Chief. All right, Robert.
So these numbers are numbers I would have expected. One of the companies I expected to bid tonight did not.
Who did you expect?
Jarrett. They've done several jobs. Hawkins has done jobs, and Sessions has as well.
And with regard to the submitted proposals, Hawkins and Sessions, without factoring in the price, is both their work acceptable in the past?
Yes.
Thank you.
The 116 from Sessions, does that include striping?
It does not.
It does not.
As far as well, it should. My specifications require striping.
So I got it. Hawkins has got it broke out differently.
Yes, they have it specific, which is on my specs as well. Hawkins even has the level of detail of what paint to use, which was part of my specifications. So now Sessions has done good work for us before. But
So you're telling us the 116,380 by Sessions includes striping?
It appears
it appears. It's not listed here, so
Yeah, well, appearances can be deceiving.
I'm not comfortable with it.
What'd you say? Are you gonna vouch for him, Robert?
No. I would recommend that we take the Hawkins. The pricing, just for, so you guys, so the committee understands. So I had a low of 96, which is one of the vendors that did not turn in a bid. We apologize for that. And I assume his bid would have been somewhere close to that number. To the high, which is sessions of 116,380.
It's only $2,000 off, right, counting striping.
Yeah.
But you don't know that you've got striping in the session.
Yeah. Well, he's attached the specs here, so I assume that means I'm going to do it. But
Hawkins, what's the last job they did for us?
small job. I believe they did. The last one was when we had to do the parking lot at Archives, our old maintenance building.
And as far as you know, we were well satisfied with what they did?
Yes.
Okay.
How long will this take?
It's going to take probably, hopefully they could get it done in one weekend, weather permitting. If not, it'll be over 2 weekends. So they'll come in over one weekend and they'll mill and get everything ready. Then they'll come in the next weekend and lay down the new pavement. It's, this time of year, it's kind of hit and miss. If they get all the milling done Saturday and they're ready to pave and it pours down rain.
Yeah.
And the asphalt plants, that's one of the other issues we have. These asphalt plants here, they're not always open when you need them. So some of these smaller guys can't get asphalt on weekends unless these plants are open for somebody like a Hawkins or a Sessions. That's one of the problems we've run into. But, we've had experience with both, and they're both good. Good contractors.
So it's going to take almost 6,000 yards to pave that?
Sounds right.
5,950 square yards.
Yeah.
That's a lot of trucks.
He's actually, Mayor, I think Jarrett was a little bit higher as far as how many yards, but he didn't put a bid in. So
Interesting.
it's an inch and a half. But that parking lot, that's probably the, as far as asphalt pavement goes, I think that's one of the biggest. Correctional Work Center and Juvenile, if you combine those two lots together, that's probably the biggest lot,
Okay.
which I think next year we're going to have to look at.
Your recommendations, Hawkins?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So moved.
Got a motion from Commissioner Gooch,
Second.
second from Commissioner Johnson. If there's no further discussion, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner Phillips,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. You're done, aren't you, Robert?
And just wanted to add for the record that there were 5 companies on that 319
Interesting.
that were solicited,
And only 2 responded.
only 2.
Okay.
Were they all smaller companies?
Well, Hawkins and Jarrett are pretty large companies. Hawkins, they just were out doing 231. They did a large section
Yeah.
of 231 going up several.
Right there at Rucker Road.
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, I noticed that Commissioner Johnson is always writing his name above your name.
Yes, sir. I too
And
have
no,
noticed
this is the
that.
second, this is the
That-
third time.
That's correct, Commissioner Gooch, and you have a keen eye, as do I. I appreciate you bringing that to Commissioner Johnson's attention, and hopefully those
I'm not one to tattle tale.
The ones before me are gonna have to shrink theirs down so I can fit in. We're right, indeed.
Commissioner P, you sign what you want.
Embrace the signature.
He's gonna put his job in.
Do your John Hancock down there, Robert.
Pull a Sharpie out right over the.
Yes.
No, that's not the second time.
Oh, Lord. All right. Michael, you're up. We got one more to go.
You wanna do mine?
What do you got?
Depends. What about a phase one environmental survey?
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
You gonna tell them about this?
Oh, I thought that. My brain.
You're presenting, sir.
We approved the $710,000 grant with Doors of Hope. Part of that was a phase one environmental survey because it includes an addition and construction. But the CDGB grant required a phase one environmental, and because it's a pass through us, it has to go through this committee for this part. So that's what this is. And I believe
CDGB.
CDBG, yes. So, whoop, sorry.
That was yours.
Oh. I believe there's two people who did. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes. 2. And this one is in my name.
These environmental guys write a book.
Who's the other one from, Carly?
The second one is from S and Emmy.
I'll pass them down. Sorry.
Okay, so keep that one, and there's got how many that is down there?
Two. That's two down on the.
Here's the other.
Thank you.
Another book.
Michael, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
How familiar are you with these bids? Obviously not two, we just opened them, but I guess the scope of the project and what they're proposing?
Somewhat familiar. I mean, obviously these two are the first time I've seen them.
Right, obviously, I guess my point is I am unfamiliar, and as such, not sure I'm, without some serious little study, not willing to make a decision, and that's why I was asking if it would be appropriate for this to come under advisement to give the committee time to review it, unless the committee is a quicker read and study than I am, which is certainly possible.
Improbable. I'm still looking for the bottom line.
I am too.
The first one is on the bottom of the first page. It's $3,900 for Griggs and Maloney.
86 on the other one.
And the other one was 28, is that correct? On page 6 of the second bid, it says
It is
fee.
fee. Yes.
But I have no way of,
I will say this: we got
Comparing
a
the two.
list of who to send these out from our consultants that we've hired at GNRC that we've partnered with. So they did feel comfortable in the list of people we sent the proposals out to. But these were similar to the price that we were expecting.
If you had a chance to ascertain whether they're apples to apples as
I
far
have
as
not. I have not. This is the.
Well, I'm like the mayor. Do you want to take it under advisement?
I would tend to. That would help. That would probably tend to be my recommendation.
Motion to take this under advisement.
Excellent motion from the embracing smiley face down there.
Second.
What kind of emoji is he?
That was a little too embracing.
Was that the angry face emoji?
I'm still looking.
Which one? What are you looking for on that one? Page 6 on that one.
Good grief.
Under the category fee, on page 6, about midway,
Down at the bottom.
right in the middle, right there.
Oh, yeah, it is, I'm sorry, under fee.
There's a pretty big difference. Taking it under advisement's good move.
We have a motion and a second from,
Smiley face on this end down here.
I was debating where to bring it back up. Oh, I don't think we need a roll call on that. Let's, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. It's, we'll defer to the next meeting. Michael, if you could help us next time, if we could review this, that'd be
I'll get
great.
some experts that help us review this.
Yes, I guess,
I will scan it, send it to Ray back. This is what I will do.
yeah, that'd be helpful. That'd be real helpful.
Okay, so I'll just.
Do we got any kind of deadline we're facing on this?
Yeah. Thank you.
There is, but I don't think the next meeting will impact us there.
We can look at it.
There's a
August.
grant deadline is our deadline. But, August, I didn't think about that.
Well, I mean,
It has to work. I mean, it just has to, because I wouldn't feel comfortable telling you which one of these I'd go with now. So I think you'll just have to. I know that's gonna push it.
that's why I was asking if we, could last August or not. I was assuming we could call a meeting.
I've got a meeting on the calendar on July 18th.
Yeah, it's a July meeting so far, but we haven't canceled it.
Do we have a
so-
calendar for July yet?
Let me,
July 18th.
can I ask a question of this body? If I can get an answer back, on this, and that timeline is a problem, what is the temperature of bringing something to the commission on the 26th, then, so we didn't have to have a special call meeting? Only if the time frame would not work for the, because we got several other legs branching off this with some things that this had to be done first before anything else could start moving.
So, I'm not opposed to that, but as a caveat to that, our commission meeting started at 6. Would it be,
Starts at 9 a.m.
26.
oh, 9 a.m., that's right, the 26th. What are the chances we could come in here at 8:30 and do this real quick?
I don't know that you could get an advertisement and everything out and
Oh,
done
that's
by
true.
then.
You're right.
It wouldn't matter. You know, it's gonna take 2 minutes. But
Okay.
We've got a purchasing committee scheduled for July 18th, but we've also got that commission meeting still on the calendar for July 13th. It could
That would
happen.
only be if it can't wait. I just want to make a phone call in the morning. I think the people I was going to call are probably off today or right now, but I can make a phone call.
I don't have no objection for the 26th. This is the will of the committee. I mean, I'm good either
Are you saying
way.
that the full commission would approve it?
That would be my only other option if we didn't have to wait till. If I
Do
could-
they even have the, I thought it stopped the purchasing. Or I thought the commission just approved the minutes, or was that?
I think you're correct there.
They do. I'm saying they would have the authority though to do that, to do this if it was so the will
Okay.
of the body. But I didn't realize we had one on the 17th,
18th.
18th. I'm sorry.
It's on my calendar.
So
Is it on your calendar?
Do we,
It's on my calendar.
okay.
I'll put it on my calendar.
with the
I will shoot for the
appropriate
18th.
emoji?
I think that'd be the best thing. I just meant if there was an emergency, something there, the commission could supersede.
They could, okay.
Yeah.
Fine with me.
It still have to be advertised, wouldn't it?
Commission meeting.
That we're gonna do it.
No,
No, the commission, so it would just be under other business.
Under business, on the commission meeting for the 26th.
I don't think that, I just want that as an emergency backup, because I agree, I don't have any apples to apples on these. Plus, I'm not an engineering expert.
Can you find out tomorrow and then send the committee out an email? That'd be great.
I'm gonna shoot for the 18th
Okay,
of July.
that'd be good.
I think that's the best case scenario for us. Depends on how many angry face motions I get.
Any other, we have so fallen off the rails. Commissioner P, we blame you for this, just so you know.
I've got big shoulders, bring it on.
Actually, I don't think it makes much of a difference. We've got a August 15th meeting, which is 2 days before our August meeting. So we could actually cancel that July meeting if that's the only bit of business and bring it up in August.
I'll find out a little more information when it's in an email.
Just if you'll send us an email, please. Any other business? Or adjourn?